So, first of all, who am I? Apologies for not being Lydia. She was meant to talk, but she's on holiday today, so you'll have to make do with me. I'm Ed. I'm a backend lead at ClearScore. I've been here since October 2018, and I've recently moved from the marketplace team to the data platform team. So, today on the agenda, we're going to be talking a little bit about ClearScore, so I'll take you through the product. We're going to look at our original stack. We're going to talk about why we moved to Scala, our different Scala stacks, because we also have a couple of different flavors of that, our backend service contracts, and then what's next for us in terms of backend. So ClearScore. So our core product is actually offering a credit score and credit report to our users for free forever. You know, we're a very user-centric company, and from the design you can see that it's very calm, it's very clear, it's nature-based to help people make, be calm while they're making financial decisions. So at the top we have our different products. We have reports. That report will contain everything on your credit report, so all your history of them, all the different accounts. We have offers, so that's our ClearScore's marketplace. This is where we sell credit cards and loans. We aggregate them from many different partners, sort them, and give them back to the user. When we're sorting these products, we try to make sure that they're the right product for the right user at the right time. So moving on to protect. So this is dark web monitoring. So what you do is you put in your email address. It will scan databases on the internet for anything like leaked passwords or any just data that's when your email has just been leaked onto a database. I've used it myself, and I found one of my primary emails that had a password leaked. So if you haven't signed up for something like this, you absolutely should. It's really worthwhile. We also have our timeline, so that's just your credit score over time, just gives you a nice visual way of looking at it to make it a bit clearer. And finally, we have coaching. So part of our mission, financial well-beingness, it's about teaching people, it's about helping them learn to manage their finances better. That's one of our really major mission statement. So, a brief history of ClearScore onto the back-end side of things. So, originally we started on a monolithic Java app, a Tomcat app called Cesium API. So this did everything from pulling credit reports and storing and saving account data and just a bunch of other stuff. So, one day, that service got very monolithic, very overloaded, and one day the business comes and they go, we want products on the panel. We want this offers button that I just went through there, and we want to start sort of surfacing those to our users. Now, it's a situation where you've only got a month to do it, and what does any good developer do when faced with a very tight product deadline? Well, you write it in a language that you don't know and you have zero experience in, and it's just very, very good choice. So. I talked to one of our developers who was in the company at the time, and I was like, "Why did you move to Scala? Was it like the immutable data types, the monads, all this kind of good stuff, functors?" And he said, "Well, we didn't really move to Scala. We decided to try it for fun, and so that's how ClearScore came to start writing Scala. Obviously we got all the benefits afterwards, but the initial decision was just like, well, let's just try this out." So, cut forward a month, everyone delivered, they deliver a project, they do some Scala, it's quite Java-y, as people say. But they deliver it and they do it in a new language, and it's really exciting. So since then, they enjoyed it so much and got so much benefit from it, all of our new services were developed in Scala. Now, cut forward a couple of years, by the end of 2018, we have well over 100 microservices. They're all written in Scala, and they have an underlying library called proper REST. It's Akka-based, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. Now, it's worth mentioning as well, all of this at this point isn't Tomcat anymore, it's deployed on Nomad, so it's all containerized and easily shipped around. So, in 2019, we introduced a new Scala stack called proper_. Now, this is the type-level ecosystem. Just a lot easier to, it's a bit of fun. So someone just introduced it, and it was very widely adopted after that. And in mid-2019, after all of this journey, 3 years after the initial service was released, we finally decided that actually we're a Scala company and that all of our backend services should be written in Scala. So it's worth mentioning as well, in the May of 2019, we actually did a migration onto Kubernetes as well. So we've actually, now everything's running in Scala on Kubernetes. So, our Scala stacks. Proper REST, it's Akka HTTP, it uses Slick to interact with databases, there's futures, K-pattern, if anyone's familiar with that, loads of fun. So, onto proper underscore, it's cats effects, we use the HTTP4S Blade servlet, the Monix task, and thankfully construction injection instead of K-pattern. So, and it's one of the big things about this is that we really allow our developers to make the right choice for them. So we have a lot of freedom in how we implement things that we need to do. So you can choose proper REST if you're more comfortable with things like Akka HTTP, but you can also choose proper underscore. For example, our AU, our Australia market, is actually, a lot of that code base, almost all of it, is written in the proper underscore world, so cats and type level. So, moving on. So, for a while, proper REST and proper underscore lived in a yin and yang, a harmony, but over somewhere in another part of ClearScore, there was a full stack team who write Node, working on a whole different architecture that was all deployed on AWS Lambdas. And the business turns around and they go, well, this is quite expensive, we don't get a lot of value out of this. Why don't you move it onto our shiny new Krypton platform, which is what we call our Kubernetes platform, because there's a lot of tooling around it. And so, enter the mix, proper Node. So now we have three flavors of backend services. It's starting to get, they're all slightly differently opinionated about how things should be implemented. Very basically, they expose a ping endpoint, which Kubernetes uses to check for liveness and readiness. So, what happens if, for example, we want to introduce a new stack, like proper Go? How do we decide, what features? At the moment, everything, at this point in time at least, everything, you look at proper REST and you just have to re-implement that in the other services. Sometimes people don't know there are extra features that they need to actually implement. So, what do? We introduce a backend service contract. So, me, Hal, who I quoted earlier, sat down and wrote 12,000 words on our backend service contract. Now, it's quite a lot of words, but it's actually quite a riveting read, and it touches on a lot of really important topics. The language uses must, should not, that side of things, so you know what is a necessity and what is optional or just suggested for you to work on. Now, there's over 100 musts, so it's a lot of requirements. There is a lot of things that need to happen to be a full backend stack in our world. It covers everything from build and release to GDPR compliance. In terms of build and release, this really helps us keep moving at pace, because when we have a vulnerability, we don't want to have to sit there and release 200 plus microservices and manually make all these changes. So by adhering to our backend contracts, you can actually automate that entire process and allows you to roll out all of our services with the updated vulnerability fix in a matter of hours. And no one has to actually touch anything, which is the amazing part. It's all written in language as not agnostic ways, so it's not opinionated about Scala, Node, anything like that. So, what's next for us? So we really want to work in Scala 3 to our backend. So we want to package that up as a new kind of flavor. It'll be very similar to the others. There's a lot of tooling already in place that we can just reuse. But we want to start making that by the end of the year sort of an option which is encouraged. There's also SBT, so up until now we currently build everything with Maven. This has worked quite well for us, but to align ourselves a little bit more with the kind of standard practice in Scala, we really want to move to SBT, and that's on our roadmap this year. So those two things are actually on what we're going to do, but what about automated enforcement of the contract? If you do want to introduce a new stack, how do you make sure that it's hitting all of those 100 plus musts? So that's something on our radar. How do we go about actually doing that? Because it involves a lot of complexity. Restarting the service multiple times to make sure it behaves in the correct way, that kind of thing. And finally, perhaps proper Rust. You know, one, it's a great pun on proper rest, and two, I'm just a big fan of Rust. So that's it. Cool. And thank you. Any questions?